Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and today we have got quite a doozy. I think it's no secret that, The Last Duel absolutely bombed at the box office. There's no denying that. Well, Ben Affleck, for his most recent movie, I believe that is The Tender Bar, gave an answer on, why he thought that The Last Duel bombed and what he thinks of Ridley Scott blaming Millennials ultimately for the movie's failure. And I am pulling this straight from the Hollywood Reporter, and there is a lot that that he goes into. So let's just get right into it. Let the record show that one question asked of Ben Affleck at Sunday night's The Tender Bar premiere inspired a 5-minute answer. Yes, it did, and it is quite lengthy, and we will get to that by the end. That might not seem noteworthy for an interview that takes place far from a red carpet, but when it happens behind a stanchion, and with an in-demand A-lister who is stopped for every outlet on a full press line, it is most definitely a moment. When it was over, even Affleck felt the weight of what had just happened. Quote, "That was my filibuster," he said, flashing his signature grin and stepping down to face the final two reporters before making his way inside TCL Chinese Theater for the premiere of George Clooney's latest film. Yeah, when did they change that? Because I know it used to be Grauman's Chinese Theater. I don't remember when they sold it off. I don't remember when they sold it off, but I have no idea who TCL even are. In it, he plays Uncle Charlie, a bartender who doubles as a father figure to a gifted nephew, played by Ty Sheridan. Affleck is earning raves for his performance and nominations too, as he just picked up a Golden Globe nod for Best Supporting Actor for his work in the Amazon Studios film. Full disclosure, there were two questions dropped at Affleck's feet. The first was about whether or not his good luck as of late being singled out by glowing reviews for his work in back-to-back films The Way Back, The Last Duel, and The Tender Bar feels as different from the inside as it looks from the outside. Quote, "It does feel different to me, but maybe not in exactly the way you think," answered the Oscar-winning filmmaker, producer, and veteran star, who showed up to The Tender Bar with girlfriend Jennifer Lopez on his arm. Woohoo! Geely is back in town. Quote, look, part of being an actor, and I guess people who don't like to say this often, but it's just the simple math of it. At the end of the day, you're never going to be better or more interesting or more moving than the material and the director. The material inherently is the role that you're playing, and as a younger guy, there wasn't as many opportunities to play characters with as rich, varied, complex lives. Some of that is chalked up to playing lead roles, he explained, because there used to be conventional wisdom that protagonists must check certain boxes in order to appeal to audiences on a mass scale. Quote, "When you're the protagonist, you have to do this and you can't do that, and there's a certain essential virtuousness that has to be present, or people think, well, the audience will lose their ability to identify with this person, and then we'll lose $100 million. That may be true in the case of $100 million, but I found it more interesting, and always have, actually, to play rich characters. The similarity for me is playing parts in films where I'm not the protagonist, whether it was Good Will Hunting, Shakespeare in Love, The Last Duel, or The Tender Bar, where I get to be somebody on the side who is allowed to be more complicated, flawed, and interesting. The mention of The Last Duel and how a film could lose $100 million was merely coincidental, but the pairing opened the door for an obvious follow-up question, as the Ridley Scott epic was one of the year's biggest box office bombs, with an A-list cast of Affleck, Matt Damon. You know I had to put that Team America clip in there. I couldn't resist. One of the best scenes in that movie, in my opinion. Actually, there's a lot of really good scenes, but so actually no, one of the best scenes is the initial, Film Actors Guild and them coming out against the war. You get like Alec Baldwin, and then you get, I think it was Tim Robbins and then Sean Penn. If you've never seen Team America, go watch Team America. Anyway, where was I? With an A-list cast of Affleck, Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer, the well-received film with 85% raves on Rotten Tomatoes has barely topped $10 million at the domestic box office since its October debut, a massive loss from a reported $100 million budget. During an appearance on Mark Maron's WTF podcast, Scott blamed Millennials. Quote, What we've got today are the audiences who were brought on these fucking cell phones, he told Marin. The millennium do not ever want to be taught anything unless you're told it on the cell phone. Scott has been feisty in interviews as of late, telling a Russian journalist, "Fuck you, go fuck yourself, sir," after the writer said The Last Duel looked more realistic than his previous films Kingdom of Heaven and Robin Hood. Expletives aside, this is the question that sparked Affleck's 5-minute filibuster. Ridley Scott blamed Millennials for The Last Duel underperforming. What's your take? Before getting into it, Affleck wanted to point out that, aside from the possibility that he was slightly misquoted, Scott's great quote as of late was, "Go fuck yourself," or "fuck yourself," because, I mean, let's be honest, who hasn't wanted to say that in a press junket? Affleck said with a laugh. Quote, "Ridley is at the stage in his career where obviously he's completely unencumbered by concerns about what people think." Well, no shit, because as of right now, Ridley Scott's an 84-year-old man. I tend to agree with Ben Affleck. You know, he probably doesn't give a fuck what people really think about his films anymore, because let's be honest, he's got more years behind him than ahead of him. And he's probably going to be a filmmaker till the day he fucking dies. So really, you know, he's at the point where he can afford to fail now. With that said, Affleck opened up about what he thinks about The Last Duel's box office returns and what it signals about the present and future of the movie business. Now, time for me to get out of the way and present Affleck's entire filibuster unfiltered. And yes, I will be reading this myself entirely word for word without cutting in until the very end. So let's get this going. It's going to be quite lengthy. Quote, "Really, the truth is that I've had movies that didn't work, that bombed, that weren't good. It's very easy to understand that and why it happened. The movie is shit, people don't go see it, right? This movie, The Last Duel, I really like. It's good and it plays. I saw it play with audiences and now it's playing well on streaming. It wasn't one of those films that you say, oh boy, I wish my movie had worked. Instead, this is more due to a seismic shift that I'm seeing, and I'm having this conversation with every single person I know. Though there are various iterations, the conversation is the same. How is the movie business changing? One of the fundamental ways it's changing is that people who want to see complicated adult non-IP dramas are the same people who are saying to themselves, you know what? I don't need to go out to a movie theater because I'd like to pause it, go to the bathroom, finish it tomorrow. It's that. Along with the fact that you can watch with good quality at home. It's not like when I was a kid and the TV at home was an 11-inch black and white TV. I mean, you can get a 65-inch TV at Walmart for $130. There's good quality out there. And people are at home streaming in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. It's all changing. And you know what? I knew it was changing before the pandemic hit with The Way Back. I remember feeling like shit. I really love this movie and no one's going to see it. I could just tell it's not going to land in the theaters. People don't want to go see dramas. Then the pandemic hit, and ironically, one of the first few films that was rushed to streaming was The Way Back, and people did see it. I said, you know what? This isn't bad. I would rather have people see this and watch it, and I don't need to be stuck in the old ways of doing business. The theatrical experience is great, and I love the theatrical experience, but the business has changed over time. First it was vaudeville, and then silent pictures, and then the talkies, and then color, and the radio came out and everybody said it was going to kill movies. TV came out and everybody said it would kill movies. Every time it's the same, people watch stories that move them in different ways on different platforms. I think that's okay. Actually, the good news is, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I would strongly guess that people are watching more content now and are consuming more. So that's a good thing, and one of the reasons for it is that streamers are doing such great stuff. I mean, the content is spectacular. Succession, spectacular. Ozark, spectacular. When I started in the business, television per se was okay. It was serial programmers creating content, and some of the shows were done great, but they were still one thing, and movies were trying to be art. That's not the case anymore. You see shows on streaming are just magnificent. A lot of the time, and I'm even guilty of this myself, I can lament it. I went to see one movie theatrically. That movie was Licorice Pizza. There are probably 2 or 3 directors, people like Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino, who have people saying, okay, I'm going to see 2 or 3 movies in the theater this year. I'll go see theirs. I think you are going to see 40 movies at least released each year now. When Gone Baby Gone came out, that was a 2007 movie directed by Ben Affleck and starring Casey Affleck. For those of you that don't know, that's my one, cut in during this. There was something like 600 movies being released every year. We had 7 movies debuting on the same weekend. It was really difficult. And I think maybe The Last Duel would have done better on streaming because the way studios and streamers have of identifying and marketing directly to people who like it is really effective. For God's sake, think of this movie, The Tender Bar. I mean, Amazon has an enormous reach. Everyone uses Amazon. They may be buying groceries, refrigerators, whatever, but they still use it, and you can reach people that way. I think you have to adapt with the times or you risk becoming a dinosaur, as my children tell me. End quote. Oh boy, that was long. And there's one thing that he's not bringing up about The Last Duel. I do agree with him that it probably would have done a lot better on streaming, just given the type of movie it is. But let's also be honest, there was virtually no marketing for The Last Duel. I remember not seeing a single trailer for it until it was like about to come out to theaters. And we're talking within the span of 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, go see Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. And I remember just sitting there going, oh yeah, that was a thing. And then, completely forgetting about it again. And then it's like, the Last Duel came out and it bombed. Well, surprise, surprise. And I know Chris Stuckmann recently went on and on in a video about, why they don't make them like they used to. Well, if you look at The Last Duel, people aren't rushing out to go see it, but that's the problem, is no one wants to address the fact that, I believe The Last Duel was released under 20th Century Fox. Disney did not want to give the movie any marketing. I hate to break it to you. The Last Duel, this is not a case of, like what happened in The Field of Dreams, where if you build it, they will come. If you don't advertise that you have built, this movie, The Last Duel, who's going to rush out to go see it? Because how many people legitimately forgot that this movie was even being made, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's just releasing straight to theaters. Actually, I should have done my Emeril impression there with bam. Just the whole, bam, it's releasing to theaters. And now it's like, okay, I can probably wait for home video because I didn't even remember this movie was even a thing. And guys, that's pretty much all I've got for you. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me long enough, I'm terrible at ending these videos. So I will just see you guys next time.